Hi, this is Lara at Elliott Wave Stock Market with the first analysis of Apple for you. I'm going to have a look at Apple once or twice a week, down to the daily and maybe the hourly chart level, because they say it's a market leader, and I'm curious to see if they are right. So I've started with a monthly chart. I went back to 1982, and it doesn't show it here on this chart, but off to the left of the chart I've checked all the subdivisions within this first wave are all present and correct. So far it looks pretty typical. We've got 5s up and 3s down on the monthly chart, and from the low back in 1982 to this all-time high up here, it does subdivide quite nicely as an impulse. So this may have been the end of a first wave at supercycle degree, and we may be looking at a supercycle second wave correction, which can move right down to the start of supercycle 1, but not below. When I use Elliott's channeling technique to draw a channel around this upwards movement from 1 to 3 with a copy on 2, it's really nicely contained. We've got a couple of tiny overshoots, but we don't have a proper channel breach until the current monthly bar, which is so far remaining below and not touching the lower edge of that channel, which is what we need to see to confirm that the upwards trend is over and a new downwards trend is underway. Let's have a look at the weekly chart, where the high for 3 at cycle degree and the low for 4 here is this high here and this low here. So this weekly chart shows how nicely price is contained within this channel until the last 3 weeks. So we have a really clear trend channel breach indicating that this long upwards trend to the all-time high is over and a new trend down has begun. We've also got a really nice candlestick reversal pattern up here. I'm not going to go over all the Fibonacci ratios in my video, it would just make it way too long. Suffice to say, I found for every impulse that I analysed at least one ratio between actionary waves, 2 of the 3 actionary waves, if not indeed Fibonacci ratios between all 3 of the actionary waves, and some of those ratios were remarkably close. I've also found within a couple of zigzags in this downwards movement some really good ratios between A and C waves, which slightly surprised me. I'm used to the S&P, which doesn't always show ratios between A and C waves. I'll keep an eye on that one as I continue to analyse Apple and see if that's one of its traits. So let's have a look at the daily chart, where the high for supercycle wave 1 up here is this point up here. So the daily chart's focusing on this new downwards trend, and so far I think that cycle wave A may be unfolding as a zigzag, although when primary wave C is over, I'll then have an alternate wave count, which would look at it as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave impulse down possibly for cycle wave A. But so far, given the depth of this correction so far, it looks like cycle A may be unfolding as a zigzag, which means that the second wave correction may be unfolding as either a flat or maybe a double combination or double zigzag. Within this first downwards movement here, primary wave A, there are some good Fibonacci ratios. Within primary wave B, A and C also have a Fibonacci ratio. Within primary C, so far, I think we've got 1, a double combination for 2, an impulse for 3, a zigzag for 4, and we may be looking at the end of the 5th wave coming up in a couple of weeks or so. My target for that is 409, where intermediate wave 5, beginning here, would reach equality in length with intermediate wave 1, to 395, where primary wave C in its entirety would reach equality in length with primary wave A. And I favour the lower edge of this target because there's already a nice ratio between waves 1 and 3 at intermediate degree, so we may not see a ratio for the 5th wave and either the 1st or 3rd. I've used Elliott's channeling technique for a correction around this downwards movement, which looks correct. I've drawn the first trend line from the start of A to the end of B with a copy on the low of A. We have a small overshoot of this channel here and a tiny overshoot here, but no proper breach. And for the end of intermediate wave 4, which I think is pretty likely to be over, it may have found resistance at the upper edge of this channel. Intermediate wave 5 may end either midway in the channel or about the lower edge. And subsequently, after this 5th wave is over, A clear breach to the upside of this channel would indicate that cycle wave A would be complete and cycle wave B upwards would then be underway. While I can't confirm that intermediate wave 4 is over, although it looks highly likely, if it does continue further as a double, it can't move into wave 1 price territory above 518.63. So overall, I found some remarkably good Fibonacci ratios for Apple. I even found a couple of nice ratios between A and C waves, which slightly surprised me. It seems to fit really nicely in trend channels drawn using Elliott's technique. Overall, the structures look really typical, 5s up and 3s down, or when the trend is down, the opposite. I'll keep analysing this one once or twice a week and making it freely available on my website, and I want to see if it really is a market leader. That's all for me today with your Apple analysis, and I hope that you're all having a fabulous day.